Okay, we are live.
Are we live? Oh wow, we are live.
Yes,
Good evening everyone. Thank you for joining us for this AME session. My name is Oluwamayo Ogbede and I will be your host for today. We have two amazing orgas at the top to join us today. We have Adewale Yusuf, who is a data platform MVP, and we have Boss Olayinka, who is a badass data vendor. So thank you for joining us today. We hope you would have an amazing time where you get to ask questions. The topic for today is so what's the topic for today? The topic for today is how is tech for you,
it is
essentially.
definitely.
So I would like Boss Adewale to introduce himself before we move on to Boss Alayinka.
I think can we leave the boss out of it? You can just call me
I was
Wale.
going to say that, like, you have to remove the boss because
Please let's remove the boss.
because
I'll be looking like I'm like 84 years now, probably 60 years. Please, where are we? Hello everyone. Good evening. How are we doing today? My name is Adewale Yusuf. I'm a Microsoft MVP in data platform and also a data person actually. So a data expert, business intelligence. So I do a bit of data analytics, data science, data engineering, and I do a bit of software development with Power Platform too. I work a little bit with Azure as well. I'm just me actually, just a data person. And nice to meet you all.
That's good. That's good. MVP. Boss Alayinka, over to you.
I thought we agreed that you're removing the boss. Anyway, like you already said, my name is Alainka and they call me Badass Data Bender. I'm a data analyst mostly. I'm not like this one that does every other thing, but yeah, I'm a data analyst mostly. I do a bit of science and engineering, but mostly I'm a data analyst. And I've worked across. I just like to say actually that my background is in chemical engineering, and I actually worked in engineering for a while before I stumbled into data analysis. And it's been an amazing stumble ever since then. I've worked across financial services, investments, not for profit, renewable energy, and a lot of other sectors. But yeah, we're here now, and I'm super excited to be here to answer all your questions.
We are super excited to have you here with us also. So I have some questions before we move on to the comment sections actually. So the topic for today is tech for you. So I would like to ask, I don't know what you studied in school, but what inspired you to go into tech? What inspired you to go into what you are doing what you are doing now essentially? So I'll just start from Adewale and then we can go to Yinka.
Mine is actually a very long story, and if I want to start telling the story here, we may spend up to 3 hours actually. Because for me, I don't have any background in tech. I studied real estate management, and valuation. You know, I'm supposed to be out there looking for a house for people, or probably trying to sell a house in Ikoyi or VI. So I studied estate management, but I've actually developed interest for computer. Don't let me call it tech, right? Right there when I was still small, I like computer. I like to type for people. You all of us still remember the Mavis Big content, right? So it got me into loving computer. And I've been like, I don't like this estate management thing that I'm doing. So I need to kind of venture into tech, venture into computer. I don't know it's tech actually. So then I was calling it computer. So and then I find myself and in Lagos, right? And then from Lagos, I find myself in one company called Deep Brand Consulting, and that's where I started my career from, and that's where I started learning everything about tech, and I was learning pretty very hard. I was learning almost everything. I just want to venture into tech. Until one day, and I said, okay, all these things that I'm learning, what do I even want to use my life for? Okay, say, let me pick one. Let me probably be a data analyst or a business intelligence analyst. I don't usually like to call myself a data analyst. So then that's how I become a BI analyst, and then that's how we find ourselves here.
Yeah, yeah, majority of everyone can relate actually to that. So I move on to Olayinka. Yeah.
Okay, so I had said briefly when I was introducing myself that I stumbled into it, but I mean, like I mentioned before, my first degree is in chemical engineering. And I worked actually as a field engineer at an oil company for about 2 years after university, and then I was fired. Now I was not exactly fired, but I was I was laid off due to redundancy, and then I was like back to the job market, and then I just found the next job that was available, which was a banking job. And it was while I was in that banking job that I got posted to a role where I was using a lot of Excel. And let's just say that from that role, yeah, I mean, I could have, because really something had to, if you stumble into something, you don't have to stay in it, right? So when I
Yeah.
stumbled
Yeah.
into it by them throwing me in that department in banking, what made me stay was because when I started learning more about the field, I saw that this was a skill that was globally in demand. And I told myself, of course, if I needed to be globally relevant and grow the way I want to grow in my career, then this is a place where I should stay. So that was what inspired me because, of course, I could have just stayed on the job and be normal, but I had to put a lot of extra effort into developing myself and all of that before I got to where I am today. So I think it's just because I found this as a skill that would help me to be globally relevant. And then I was inspired to pursue a career in data, in tech.
All right. Thank you for answering those questions. I guess I would just like to say my own also. I essentially studied physics in school. So physics and power platform, they don't really relate if you can see. But constantly trying to develop myself and constantly trying to have the urge to better myself and to have a life after school because there's no work in Nigeria, but there's also work. So essentially, that's actually made me venture into the Power Platform was Power BI first before I moved on into Power Apps, Power Automate. And I think Power BI was my first love. Then I graduated into Power Apps and Power Automate, and I've been in Power Apps and Power Automate ever since. So the other question I would like to ask is, what so technology is constantly evolving. How do you stay current with the latest trend? Because this month we have something in Power BI. Next month we have new changes. Everything has changed. The font has changed in Power BI. How do you stay relevant with the new technology? How do you stay relevant in the new updates that get pushed per month? And if you're in Power BI, if you do Power BI, you constantly know that every month new things are coming to that app. So how do you stay relevant in your field of tech? Yeah, so you can move on to
Okay.
that Diwali and then
So
come.
for me, and I would say it's actually consistent learning. So you have to keep learning. Don't stop learning. That's it for me. Whenever you stop learning, I think that's the end of somebody's career. So even us that we've been there for over 6 or 7 years experience, we still kind of learn every day because these tools kind of upgrade every month. There was a time I wanted to start using this like almost 3 months ago, Power BI changed the interface to this on object interactions, right? They call it on object interaction. So I decided to leave the on object interaction. I was not using it. I was using the old way of the interface of
Okay.
Power BI. So in like a month or two, I just find that one day I decided to use a new system, and that system already has the on object interaction on. I could not disable it, so I wanted to use it, and I just find myself lost totally. I was totally lost. I didn't know where to go again. I was like, is this the same Power BI that we all be using? So I have to now keep reminding myself, keep practicing again, and also keep learning, right? So you should never stop learning and always practice as well. And that's the way it's actually worked for me.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
I mean, just like Wale has said, continuous learning is key. But I think another thing that has also worked for me is because you understand that in tech or in different fields, for example, depending on your company, depending on, it is not all the, especially when it comes to software, it may not be all the software that you will be using in your day to day. So the ones that you're not using in your day to day, if you're not careful, you will just forget that things have changed in that software. So how do you keep yourself up to date with those kind of software is by, sometimes if you belong to communities, you attend some of these webinars, some of these sessions. It's not because maybe you don't know the tool before. It's just because something might have changed that they're going to share or learn in the webinar. So learning together with other people, and also sometimes teaching people. When I used to be, when I was not used to be, I still when I was teaching, when I teach Power BI in Textilers, there are many times that there's a new feature that has been shipped that I didn't know about. And when I'm preparing for a class, that's when I'll notice that, oh, this thing has changed in Power BI. Oh. So like if I wasn't teaching, I would not be, because I think at that period there was a period I wasn't using Power BI at work. So that time I would have just been lost. So participating in all these community activities, webinars, events, and all of that, teaching people when you can, are one of the ways. In addition to, of course, you cannot throw away continuous learning. People are usually surprised when I tell them, oh, I was doing one thing on data camp. I'm like, there's no time that I don't have data camp subscription, because there is always something new to learn. So continuous learning is also very key.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that very much. We all have to constantly keep learning. Something that we don't like to do it, but everyone has to do it actually. You have to keep learning, try to try to try to follow along, subscribe to YouTube videos. Teaching teaching is actually one important thing that I've actually figured out helps you retain your knowledge. When you probably teach or you probably write a blog or something, you would have to break stuff down, and without you even knowing, you're keeping that thing in your mind, and it's easier for you to explain to someone better. So the next question I would like to ask is, what is your advice to people that are in non-technical backgrounds and they would like to break into tech? Yeah, um,
Um,
Osadewale.
okay.
Okay, sorry for that. So what I'm going to say is this: a lot of people have asked me this same questions couple of times. I don't have any background in tech. I want to venture into tech. I don't know whether I can code. I think I heard that tech is coding. I need to start coding a lot. I don't know whether I can cope with this. So what I usually tell people is you should remove the fear first. That's the first thing you should remove, because a lot of people keep doing procrastination. I will start next month. I will start in 2 weeks. I will start in 3 months. Remove the fear first. After you remove the fear and you remove the procrastination, you should now have a determinations and passion for this. Now, there are different skills in tech. There are so many things you can learn in tech. You can learn the software development, you can learn UI, UX, you can learn data analytics, data science, you can learn front end developer, you can even learn graphic design, right? But one thing you should do first is pick a niche to say, this is what I want to learn and this is what I think I love. Once you now pick that thing, then you should have a passion for it. Okay, I have passion for this thing, and you should keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Keep learning, right? Although a lot of people say, okay, probably because I don't have real life projects to work with, learning has been very, very hard for me. There are so many websites where you can get a lot of things you can simulate on. For example, in data analytics space or data science space, you can get a lot of data from Kaggle or some other website right there where you can just use that to practice and keep a portfolio of what you've been doing. And you'll be surprised that if you keep doing this, the opportunity will just come one day. But one thing you need to have first is the passion, and also to make sure that you devoted to what you think you want to venture into. That's it for me.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think for me, in addition to, I mean, Wale has said you need to like find a niche and all of that. And like he has also said, tech is not equal to code, right? So there are so many fields in tech that do not involve coding. And I'm not trying to put any role down here, but so can be something as simple as a customer success associate. So, for example, if you're very good at relating with people, you know how to calm people down when they are angry and things like that. That has nothing to do with what you studied in school. Then you can be a customer success associate in a tech company, which has to do with or helping people, customers to resolve their complaints and things like that. And I think another thing that you can also do, for example, is let's even assume that you don't want to go totally away from what you studied in school. So, for example, you studied banking and finance. You studied or let me use law as an example. Law is a field that appears that is very far away from tech. You studied law in school. You can go into data protection, into cyber security, anti-money laundering and CFT for a fintech company. Those are things that you will see apply many of the things that you learned in your law degree, and then you're still working in tech. So there are lots of fields that have overlaps. There are lots of roles in tech that have overlaps with other traditional courses that you might have studied before. So you don't necessarily have to throw it away. And let's even assume that you want to do like the core coding, you want to be a software developer. The reason why tech is as or part of the reason why tech is as popular as it is because of the low barrier to entry. It doesn't matter if you have a degree in tech or not, you just need to go to a boot camp, or not necessarily go to a boot camp, take an online course, a self-taught course, self-paced, and then you just need to have the skill. As long as you're able to learn the skill and you're able to, for example, have a portfolio of projects that shows that I know the skill, people are going to employ you. So it's two ways. If you want to do core coding, you take the courses and learn the skill. If you want to apply what you already had in your first degree into tech, there are also ways around that. You just need to find the overlap and then develop yourself, and yeah, a tech bro.
Yeah, so essentially what I got from it is that you should try to read up and study essentially. Tech is has a low entry barrier, and there are different roles in tech. You don't essentially have to be coding. There's technical writing, different aspects of tech that you can venture into. There's UI, UX, product design, Power Platform essentially. But let's say you still do some coding in Power Platform. But there are different aspects of tech. If you don't want to code, you necessarily don't have to code. You can learn other aspects of tech. And like Yinka said, you will be a tech brand Texas. Okay, so what challenges have you faced in your tech career, and how did you think you've overcome them? I'll start from Yinka this time. What challenges have you faced in your tech career, and how do you think you have overcome them?
The one that is hard is the one you brought to me. Anyway, I think the first challenge that I faced when I started like going deeply into tech was we have this issue with some companies where um when and it happens, I think it happens in most fields, when they are doing job adverts, they will tell you that, oh, .NET, C sharp, this one. They will list all the sophisticated tools. And I think one thing I used to do when I'm trying to switch jobs, for example, I feel like, okay, if this is the next job title I'm looking for, I'll be looking at adverts. What are the skills they look out for? So I develop myself on those skills. And after I finish developing yourself in the skills, you now get the job. They will not tell you that, oh no, it's Excel you'll be using. Oh, all those ones is just so I every time I keep feeling like you're dulling my spirit. Oh, there's so much more I want to do. And I struggled with it for some time, and then I realized that sometimes you need to when you are at an organization, you need to sort of sometimes you need to get like stakeholder buy-in if you're trying to get them to move to a new platform from what they were using before. And sometimes in some cases you just have to do some sort of hybrid. Sometimes you let them do the Excel and sometimes you let them do, and I'll tell you a particular challenge that I had in one company where I worked. So they had been doing their reports in Google Sheets, their monthly reports, their all of the reports, they do it in Google Sheets. And when I joined the company, and I think I joined the company at the beginning of the month. So the report of last month was due, and they showed me this big Google sheet and I was like, no, I can't do this. I cannot do this forever. So I did it for that first month, and then I just found a way to. So I did what they asked, and even at the end of the year, I still did it in Google Sheets. Then I redid it the same thing in Power BI. So I tried to make them see why it is better, how this is more efficient, how so much more that we can achieve with this. So basically just trying to understand your stakeholders and getting their buy-in. By the time I did that report, so they asked me to do it in Google Sheets and I did it in Google Sheets. Then I did another one in Power BI and I shared the two. It was them who then came back to tell me that I think we should move all our reporting to Power BI. And in my mind, I was like, exactly what I was trying to achieve. So I made them to be the one to say the things. I didn't have to be begging them, say, oh, let's use Power BI. No, I sort of moved their hand to achieve what I wanted. So sometimes managing stakeholders, especially when you're trying to change how things have been done before, it could be difficult. But of course, I was able to overcome that. I think another challenge that I've also had a few times is many times managing time and deadlines, especially when you work with like senior management. They want something ASAP, ASAP, and you don't want to give them something that is wrong just because they wanted it fast. But I think the way I've managed that is to also make sure that I communicate properly. If we have a deadline and for some reason maybe you cannot make, you need some more time, just communicate early on and let them know that, oh, I will need a few more hours to deliver this. This is why. This is why. Just just so that you don't try to beat deadline and then give inaccurate stuff. But yeah, that has been it for me.
Yeah, I can relate to stakeholders wanting something ASAP, and then you want to give them the best, but like they're always prompting, you want it ASAP, ASAP. So, Pastor Adewale, over to you.
Thank you, Mayowa. So for me, actually, there has been a lot of challenges, and there was some that I was actually lucky. So in terms of work experience, I would say for me, majorly, what I usually struggle with most of the time on project is domain knowledge, because I kind of work in a consulting company, and in this company, we kind of work with different industries, we work with different people. So when you kind of take a project from probably this kind of industry, so you need to kind of familiarize yourself with that industry. You need to be able to manage scope, you need to be able to manage client requirements and all that. So that was a bit of challenge when I started, before I kind of say, okay, I think this is how I have my own framework or probably a strategy on how to break into any industry. So I can say when I come into any industry to develop a solution for them today, I can kind of relate with their industry. Another kind of challenge, but for me, I was actually lucky, but for most people, is the platform, right? A lot of people don't have the platform. Although they've learned all these things, they've want to venture into tech, they've acquired all these skills, but there's no platform for them to showcase these things that they've learned. There's no platform for them to showcase their skills. That has been a lot of challenges for a lot of people. Okay, I'm looking for job. People don't want to probably um, employ probably a starter or probably an intern or something like that. So it has been a lot of challenge for people. But what I usually tell people is this: there are so many people I've also recommended for interviews and all that. But the first question they are going to ask you is, what have you done and what can you do? Right? So the best way to kind of move away from that challenge is to make sure that you document your learning. So all those times that you are learning, make sure you are documenting them. Don't just learn for learning's sake. Document your learning, keep your portfolio. Anything you do, keep it somewhere. Recruiter also wants to see your growth. They want to see, okay, you move from here to here. So that shows them that that's the kind of thing that I also look out for in an interview when I'm interviewing people. I want to know, I don't want to know your technical capability now, but I want to know if you have this, I don't know which English am I using now. If you have this zeal for learning, if you have this zeal for growth, to say you want to grow, this is where
Ability
you are
to grow. Yeah.
ability to grow. Thank you. If you know that you can actually move from point A to point B. So one thing you should do first is document all your learning. Another challenge I can say is, I think it actually took me a lot of years and a lot of probably, let me say, constant learning to get to where I am, because that's actually another challenge as well, because you have to keep yourself at the top of the game. If you don't mingle with the community, like Inka said, in 2 or 3 months or 4 months, you will just find yourself probably exile, or you are in exile. So people don't probably know what you are doing. Even yourself, you are not getting to the two. That's another challenge. But aside from all that, I think it has been good. And then, my brother, take you sweet.
Take it sweet. Yeesh. I
Sweet.
like that ending. Take it sweet.
Wale
Yeah,
is a
so
hot soap. Oh.
like Adewale has said, try to document your journey. Actually, try to post on LinkedIn, post on Twitter. Let people see what you do. Let them be able to see your growth, and as much as possible, always connect to the community that you belong to. It doesn't have to be Power Platform Nigeria user group, but that's technology that you're trying to learn, the community that it belongs to. Find that community and make sure you show yourself in that community, and you put yourself out there. And before you know it, in 2 3 years time, you would also be saying tech is sweet. So let's move on to the next one. Do you believe that technology is accessible to everyone, regardless of their background or expertise? Why or why not? Do you believe that technology is accessible to everyone, regardless of their expertise? Why or why not? So I would start from Boss Shinka.
I mean, like we already said today, anybody can do can work in tech. I will not steal Adewale's story. I will just allow him to tell that one. But I will give like example of a number of people that I also know who work well in technology. I have a friend who we went to high school together. She studied law. I keep using law, but I'm still going to use another one. She studied law in university, and then shortly after she came back from law school, she ran into a Google developers, what they call that in GDG, Sha. She ran
Yeah,
into a
I
Google
think it's
developers
Telegram.
club, and then she went into DevOps. And now, by the time she was leaving Nigeria, she actually had two job offers in two different European countries that were going to sponsor her relocation. And then she had to choose which one of the two that she wanted. And this was in less than 5 years after she made the switch into tech. So I don't want to know what you studied. And of course, there's Victoria, who is also a Microsoft MVP in business applications. She studied banking and finance also in school. And then after school, she got into tech. She developed herself, and now she's a senior Power Platform developer and also a Microsoft MVP. So there's like 1001 examples. You can even say maybe because me I studied chemical engineering or engineering has maths and all those things. But all these people that studied banking and finance and studied law, they are still doing very well in tech. Like we already said before, in tech, nobody is really looking for what you studied in your first degree. They are looking at what you can do. Like Wale said before, do you have a portfolio that can showcase that you can do this and that? Then people are going to employ you. So you just need to forget whatever your background or your expertise is and learn those skills by whatever means that works for you. And then once you can prove that you have those skills, people are going to employ you.
Hmm, yeah, that's correct. Adewale, back to you.
Thank you for that, Sinka. I think she explained it a bit more. So just to add to that, there's actually no barrier in entering tech, no matter background, no matter your background, no matter where you're coming from. You don't have any limitation. There's nothing that can stop you from breaking into tech, right? A lot of people say, okay, probably because of the learning, I have to pay for this course, I have to do that, I have to do that. YouTube is a university, right? That's what I usually tell people. You can practically learn everything you want on YouTube. And there's so many free resources right there, yeah, that you can do. There are a lot of people in the community that also host free resources and give free resources for people. Like for me too, I kind of host analytic copper workshop for people, especially core members every year, where we train like 1,000 core members for free for people to learn all these skills so that when they finish the NYC, they don't just go out there and be looking for probably a sales job or a customer service job that won't pay them more than maximum of 100,000. Even the growth in 3 years may just be like they are on the same space, right? But if they can actually have the opportunity to learn tech and venture into tech, the growth they will have on 2 to 3 years, you can't compare it with somebody that is in banking. And all these things have been made for free. So you can go on YouTube, you can learn anything you want to learn on YouTube. You can see some a lot of free course, even if you don't have the money. So I'm talking about the money right now. Because some people will say one of the limitations they have is the money to probably pay an instructor to learn. And I can tell you now that you don't even need any money to learn anything. YouTube is there for you to kind of learn everything you want to learn and all that. Now, another person has reached out to me and say, yeah, one of the Anansi Corporate members says, another thing, another issue he or she is having is internet. He doesn't have internet to be able to learn one or two, I can say that is also not a barrier. There are so many places where you can tap internet. I know myself, I used to be a Wi-Fi tapper. There was a time that there's a place close to my house. When I want to learn something, there's an hotel close to my house. This hotel has free Wi-Fi. I will go close to that hotel, sleep probably close to that place, open YouTube, download all the videos I want to watch. And that's for learning. All those your data you're using to watch film, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, you can use those same data kind of learn anything you want to learn. There's also another person that reached out to me that I don't have a laptop. I don't know how to get started. You don't also need a laptop. You have a phone, right? So you can start learning from your phone, and as you are learning from your phone, you are saving for your laptop. So all those things you've learned, then when you now save for your laptop and you have a laptop, you can now start practicing everything you've kind of acquired and everything you've learned. So there is practically no barrier to entering into tech. There's even a guy, I think Microsoft mentioned a particular guy that was a security in this particular company. Is it London Heathrow? I can't remember specifically. There was a security
Yeah.
guy in a particular company that learned Power Platform, and he eventually became the head of business applications in that same London Heathrow company. And it was practically just a security. And because he picked the tech skills up, and it just became the head of business application. So there is no barrier. If I want to use myself an example too, I'm sure you can't want to use me, but she decided not to. I saw the estate management, for God's sake. I remember those times I used to walk around, measure people houses, moving from one place to another, doing valuation of one building, sourcing for properties, doing all those stressful work, right? But because of tech today, I ventured into tech without having any background in computer science. And even those people that learn computer science, that went to computer science, that has computer science background, they did computer science in school, we will probably not be in the same stage now. When I'm speaking, somebody that learn computer science may not even be able to speak right there. Even me that don't learn computer science. So that is how far you can go. Even though you don't know all these things, number one thing is have passion. Once you have that passion for it and you are ready to learn, by all means, then you can always find your way around it. That's it for me.
All right. Thank you very much for that.
And let me
We'll
quickly
proceed.
add something to what Wale was saying about like you don't have Wi-Fi or all of those things. I think another thing is when you spend your time on social media, what you're spending that time doing is important. Today there are lots of opportunities online for like hubs where you can go and use a laptop with internet for free or some laptop scholarship. There are really lots of hubs around where you can just go and learn, use laptop or get free internet. So you need to just like diligently look for those kind of opportunities online and then you can make use of them for your learning.
That's right. Thank you very much for that. Let's just answer one question before I proceed into more of my question. So, Glory Uber says, are there internship slots for newbies, especially for those not into Power BI, brackets, data analytics? In summary, are there companies using other Power Platform tools? Yeah. So, I don't know if you got that question.
Yeah, I think I did. So if the person is practically focusing on Power Platform alone, not Power BI, and we are talking about Power Platform, I'm sure you're talking about BZAP currently, or even automations or RPA. Yes, there are definitely a lot of companies in Nigeria that are into RPA, business applications, and then process automations as well using Power Platform. And there's as well an opportunity as an intern or let's say newbie for people like people that are just starting. Say for example, I think last year First Bank reached out. I have a friend in First Bank that's like the head in First Bank. They need like almost 5 interns in Power Platform, and I kind of supply people that are just starting, and they've been able to choose them to the extent that they have a Power Platform department right now in that bank. Another thing is Deep Brand Consulting as well, kind of do yearly boot camp, and in this boot camp they usually hire people here for probably 4, 5, or 6 people, and Deep Brand Consulting kind of train these same people. So they don't expect you to have many experience. So what they do is at this boot camp they train people on how to use these skills, and they also employ them as well as an interns, and they grow from there. And there's so many people in the industry that are doing well that have actually ventured to take via that route. So there are so many opportunities, internships, And one thing people also do is don't say something you cannot do in an interview. I know people usually say interviews between two liars that are lying to each other, right? But for me, I always believe in coming clean, right? When you go to an interview, let people know this is your strength, this is your skill. Although I'm just venturing into this thing, I'm just trying to figure it out. But I have the passion to learn, and I can always learn. Then they can bring you in as an intern, and they know they are practically training you to be very good at that space. So regarding an opportunity, there are so many opportunities. You just need to look for it.
All right. Over to you, Yinka.
Yeah, definitely. I'm seeing the question again, and the person is saying, are there companies using other Power Platform tools? I promise you, there are many companies using Power Platform. The companies in banking, in insurance, in like startups, fintech, in oil and gas. These are the ones that I have seen firsthand. There are lots and lots of companies using Power Platform. So whether you can find those internships, you just need to position yourself, like as we said before, belong to the right communities. Because just like Adewale said, when they reach out to him to refer 5 interns, it is people that he has known in the community that he can vouch for, that he will refer. He will not just go and look for strangers on the internet. So that's why it's important for you to join those communities so that you can get exposed to all of those opportunities. But yes, there are countries in almost every sector using other Power Platform tools, not just Power BI.
Yeah, I would like to touch on that. The company that I'm currently that I would like to say the name. They currently use Power Platform, and you would not believe that they are using Power Platform. I think Power Platform is like one of the most low key jobs ever. You just need to put your head down. Weirdly enough, they use Power BI, but they don't use Power BI in the way you think they use Power BI. What they are focused more on is about low code and business process automation. So that's essentially using Power Apps and Power Automate. Now, for a fact, there are other companies that I know that definitely use Power Platform, other tools of Power Platform. Companies like Chevron, companies like Owando, those are oil companies that you would not think that they would be using Power Platform. But when you see the public types of way to get into that, it's not you. They would not even advertise those type of roles. They will essentially meet someone in the community that they feel like this person can recommend someone that is very good to them, and you probably ask, "Do you know some Power Platform developers that can help us?" And that's how you would essentially get those roles that you are looking out for. So the key thing is to make sure you join the community. Also make sure that you are active in the community so people can actually know that this is what you do, and obviously when the time comes they would be willing to recommend you for those roles properly. So my question now, so what do you think are the most exciting or impactful upcoming trends in technology right now, and how do you think they will shape the industry? I have one of those trends in my mind. I know everybody has this in their mind. AI. So, what are those upcoming trends right now, and how do you think they will shape the industry, the future of the technology industry? Yeah. Adewale.
Okay, I think you've mentioned it. AI is shaping the the industry right now. AI is going to do a lot of things, most especially what Microsoft is doing with Copilot. Now, Copilot is now inside almost all the Microsoft technologies, right? You can find a Copilot in Office 365, like your Excel, your PowerPoint, your Outlook, even your Power BI, even writing docs and all the different things that we kind of do very hard. AI is taking over most of these things, and that is what is going to shape the way we work. Now, somebody asked me this question. One of my colleagues asked me the questions that, Wale, I think AI is going to take over our work as a data analyst. I think we are practically not going to do anything again in future because the way Microsoft is updating all these things now is just alarming, right? Now, my response to that person is, although AI is not going to take over our job, AI is just going to make our life easier and make what we do seamless, right? Make what we do seamless. Imagine, let me paint a scenario. There was a time I was trying to solve a problem in Power BI. I was trying to write a particular DAX, just a DAX. Now, that problem, I was thinking on how to write that DAX for over 4 hours. Just thinking. I've not even started writing. I was just thinking in my head, what formula can I combine? How can I achieve this solution? And I went to Google, went to YouTube. We are still all still in University of Google and then YouTube. All of us still use it, right? I went
Yeah.
there, I search. I did not see the problem I'm trying to solve. Now, I went to sleep, right? After sleeping for like 8 hours in my dream, I was still dreaming about the solution, right? In my dream, I was just thinking, I want to solve this problem. How can I do it? Now, something just pumped me in my head that, what if you do this, do this? And I woke up in my bed and I went to my system. I still tried it. I did not get it. I went back to sleep. Now, something in my sleep now told me that this problem is not even the problem of DAX. What if you tweak your data model a little bit and all those things? Then I went back, I took the data model, I now come back and I wrote the DAX, right? And then the DAX just work. Now, funny for me, when co-pilots now come, this same problem that I was trying to solve, that I used almost 7 hours, wasted those 7 hours, right? I just try asking a very smart prompt, or let me say questions, right, with the co-pilot, and it just brought out the entire solution for me. Even though the solution is not that perfect, I still need to do a lot of amendments to it, but at least it actually guided me to the right path. So it's not as if the AI took over my job. What the AI did is actually to make my life easier.
Yeah.
So we still need this our domain knowledge. We still need our critical thinking. We still need everything we have as a human, right? I'm sure when you go to ChatGPT and you probably tell ChatGPT to draft probably a mail or a message for you, you still need to humanize it. You understand what I mean by humanize, right? Because what
Yeah.
the AI is going to generate for you is AI. There's no emotion, there's no politics. Human being will like to do politics. I'm sending email to somebody. I know I don't like the person, but I need to be professional. I need to kind of look nice. But if you supply that prompt to AI, AI is going to give you just like it is. But it is you that will now humanize it. You put a little bit of emotion, you put a little bit of politics and all those things, right? So that is what is going to take over the future of technology. So Microsoft is working a lot on Copilot and some interesting too. And I can tell you that this Copilot is going to kind of do a lot, and AI is going to take over a lot. I'm sure somebody tell you like 4 years ago or 5 years ago, there's a technology called ChatGPT that can do this for you. I'm sure all of us will not believe it, right? I remember when I
Yeah.
was doing my project in school, I suffered to do project. And right now, people go to ChatGPT and just apply their topic, and ChatGPT will write the entire project from chapter 1 to 5, even the introductions and table of content. You just need to print and bind, right? So what is going to take over is practically AI. And there's another thing Microsoft is launching, but they have not really pushed it out too well. It's something they call Project Sophia. I don't know if most of the people on this call have heard about it. So Project Sophia is practically for data analysts, right? What Project Sophia is going to do, Software is going to kind of get your data, make decision from it, not just analyze it alone. It's going to clean the data up. It's going to analyze the data, and it's also going to make decision from that data because that's what most data analysts lack, right? Making a decision from their report. Software is also going to make a decision and also going to suggest a solution for you from that decision. And that's another AI that is coming in future, right? That is also not going to take over our job. We just need to be at the top of AI. When all these AI are coming, I need to be the first person to use it. When there's Copilot in this, I need to be the first person to be able to use it. So people will need people that can actually control this AI and understand prompting very well. And I think one career we all go for in future is something called prompt engineering. So that's what we should all look out for.
That's all. All right.
Yep.
Thank you very much for that. All right. Inka.
Yeah, I think since Wale has spoken everything about the coming of AI, maybe I can find something else to talk about. And I think another trend that is quick becoming popular is not a technology per se, but it is the interconnectivity of all of these technologies that we have been using. So, for example, when Microsoft used to have Azure Synapse, in a different place, Power BI in a different place, and then they brought Microsoft's Fabric, which has Synapse and everything in one platform. And then they now say, oh, Python is now available in Excel. And I think there was a recent thing between Microsoft and, I'm trying to remember now. I
Microsoft
can't
and
remember,
OpenAI.
but yeah, no, it wasn't the OpenAI one. There was one. There was one. Amazon. I think it was Amazon. Microsoft and Amazon. So what I'm trying to bring out of that is you cannot you cannot be an island of knowledge. You cannot just say, oh, because I'm a data analyst, this is the only thing I need to know. You need to have an idea of what is happening in other fields. And the reason why is that when all of these collaborations come together, the only way you can stay relevant is knowing how to get value from the community of software. So such that you're not saying, oh, maybe for example, people who did this dichotomy of, oh, Python is better than Excel, oh, Excel is better than Python. And now that they have now brought, oh, Python is now available in Excel. Them making Python available in Excel is because they know that there's so much more you can achieve when you have Python in Excel. So now compare somebody that knows how to use Excel and knows how to use Python would now be more valuable than somebody who just knows how to use Excel or somebody who just knows how to use Python. So because all of these tools are now working together, you cannot be just closed-minded and say, oh, this is the one I want to learn, this is the one I know. You need to just open your mind to sort of understand other technologies so that as all of them are coming together and marrying themselves, you're not just going to be left out of the game. And just like Wale said about AI taking over our jobs, I always told people AI is not going to take over your job. The people who are going to take over your job are the people who know how to use AI. So, just like you said, a prompt engineer is basically somebody who knows the right questions to ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT today is what it is, but it's not everybody that will get the same results from ChatGPT. The result that you will get depends on the questions that you ask. If you don't ask the right questions, so knowing how to ask those right questions, it takes a human being, not a robot. And of course, domain knowledge is something that AI may never exactly. And I'll give an example of domain knowledge. When in data science, when you're doing like k-means clustering, and you use your elbow method to maybe check the number of clusters. There are many times you would not necessarily use in real life, you would not use the number of clusters that the elbow method gave you because it doesn't make sense. Because of your domain knowledge, you know that, oh, I cannot have 12 clusters, even though K means said, or even though elbow method says 12 clusters. So that domain knowledge is something that AI would not take away. I mean, you still need to have domain knowledge to be relevant at your job.
All right. Thank you. I think one thing to note is that, like Olayinka and Adewale both said, AI is here to actually help you improve in your job. Now, AI is not going to replace you, but the person that's going to replace you is someone who knows how to utilize AI well. That's one thing to note. So the thing is, you need to adapt and grow with time. You need to be able to utilize AI to make your work easier. I use ChatGPT when I'm trying to write Power FX functions, something that may probably um be time consuming. Start thinking about it like Adiwale does with DAX. So AI is going to help you in your job, and so you have to make sure to utilize AI. And like there are so many things that are coming that are being done right now, from the fabrics. Microsoft is bringing everything together, from data engineering to visualization into one place. So many things. So you just need to be able to broaden your knowledge, and you also need to be able. You also need to have a test to learn actually, because if you don't have that test to learn, you can't improve. So one other question, just before I continue my question, Ayomide Ade, I don't want to murder your name, so I'll just say Ayomide. Just checked and I see all the Power Platform tools, but I want to ask which one is most viable and which would you say could be a great starting point? P.S. I am a beginner. Yeah. So I'll start from Adiwali.
Is Wale that will answer that question.
Okay, let me read the question again. You want to ask which one is viable and which one you use will be a great start. All of them are actually viable, right? Most of them are viable. But what I'm going to advise is the one you should start with depends on the career you're trying to venture into. So if you want to go into data analyst, then probably you start with Power BI because that's your core. You don't necessarily need to learn too much of Power Apps. Although Power Automate is for everyone, it's just automation, so you can learn a bit of that. Even me as a data expert, I can still build an app. I can still do Power Automate. I can even do Power Virtual Agent, but they don't call it Power Virtual Agent again now. I think it's now called Copilot Studio or something. It's
Yeah,
now called
Copilot
Copilot
Studio.
Studio. It's no longer Power Virtual Agent. So all of them are important. But if you want to kind of master all of them, I think what you should start with, if you are thinking of a career as a Power Platform developer, is the Power Apps. So you need to learn how to build an app. Okay, I want to build an app. I want to learn how to now incorporate some automations into that app. Then you can now start learning a bit of Power Automate. But all of them kind of work together. But if you want to focus a career in probably a data analyst, then Power BI should be your thing. That's what you should focus on. But if you want to learn how to develop an app, I think you should start with Power Apps. Then you from Power Apps you do more of Power Automate. In fact, the Power Virtual Agent, there is actually no much use cases for it yet. I can say leave that one for now, right? So the
Mm.
one I will advise you should learn mostly is probably Power Apps and then Power Automate. Because for Power Virtual Agent, I think why most companies are not adopting it then when it came is because of the price. And it's just too expensive. So many companies are not just jumping on Power Virtual Agent. So the sales is not going as it is. And I think Microsoft is kind of doing some strategizing on that tool, right? But the most important one, if you want to become a developer, is Power Apps and Power Automate. If you want to be a data analyst, is Power BI. Yep.
Mm. Yeah. Olenka, do you have any question, any comments on that?
No addition. I think Wale has covered. Wale has covered everything.
All right. So I would just like to speak on what Wally has said. I think it depends on what you are trying to go into. Like you said, if you are trying to become a data analyst, what you would primarily focus on will be the visualization tool, which is Power BI and probably Power Automate, because that's like what would actually be useful to your stack. And then if you're trying to be a Power Platform developer, what you most likely be focusing on is Power Apps, Power Automate, and probably in Power BI too, because sometimes you would have to work with it. Virtual agent, like Adewale had mentioned, not lot companies don't essentially use it because of the high pricing that it tends to come with. Okay, that's that on that. One other question I would like to ask. Our time is going, so we need to start rounding up. So tech can be demanding. How do you balance between work and personal life in the tech industry? I'll start from Inka.
Well, balance is very key, and I think apart from bad as data bender, they also call me the enjoyment queen or
Minister.
something like that.
Queen of
But
enjoyment.
yeah, I'm very big on enjoyment because, like they always say, work no they finish. But I think one thing that has helped me so far is finding balances and also finding a balance, number one, and number two is trying as much as possible to put away distractions and learning time management. That's because I tell people that or I usually say that people who are consistently closing late from work, I promise you, well, in sane organizations, is not seen as a sign of hard work. It's more of a sign that you don't know how to manage your time. And that's why the time that has been set for you to do your job, which is 8 to 5, is not enough. And then you're having to work extra hours. So but again, I mean, that doesn't mean that there are companies where we know that they will overload you with work and you have to work extra time. But that's why I also said like setting boundaries. So you start with being diligent and managing your time properly. So the work that is assigned to you, you try your best to finish it. Don't be using company time to be browsing Twitter or all of that. when is work time, focus on your work so that you can finish your work by 5. Now if if you're focusing on your work and you're still consistently not finishing your work by 5, then you need to have a discussion with your boss, and that they have to reduce your workload or whatnot, but also setting boundaries. So if they know that, like I always close, they know me in all the companies I've worked, I always close by 5. Or except on rare occasions or when there's an emergency and something. But I'm not that person who comes to work every day and then works 3 hours extra time every day. Because I promise you, even if you work till late and you don't go home, the work will not still finish. Tomorrow you still close by 8, next tomorrow you still close by 8, the other day you still close by 8. So you might as well close by 5 anyway. And then, so like setting those boundaries are important. I'm not saying don't work extra hours, but don't make it a habit. Instead, be diligent enough to not allow distractions during work hours so that you can do your work, especially if you live in a place like Lagos where you have to like still spend time commuting. And if you work remotely, that one is hard. But the thing is, if you work remotely, don't try to have a workspace. Even if it's on your dining table, right? Set it as a permanent workspace. It's not the one that you be carrying your laptop and be removing it. What that does is that you know that in the morning by 8 o'clock, you go and sit at that desk, you take your lunch or whatever breaks you take in between. But when work closes, you know that you have to stand up from that desk because work has closed. But if you carry your laptop to your bed and you're working from your bed, you will not even know that it's already 6:30 or it's already 7. So finding those balances and disciplining yourself and being diligent, like I said, don't be using company time to be faffing and be scrolling away on Twitter. That helps you to keep balance. And I think like I also just said, you need to be deliberate about your health and your personal time so that you're not set boundaries around working on weekends and things. Those boundaries, set them early when you just join a new job. Let people know that you're diligent at your job, but you also don't play with your rest time. That way you're able to, because it's out of your rest time that you still used to do personal development and
Mhm.
things like that. So if you don't manage the time
Yeah.
properly, you break down, and by the time you break down, your company will move on. So finding that balance is very key.
Yeah. So Adewale, over to you.
Okay, so just to add to that, I think sending setting boundaries, like Inka said, actually work for me because I remember while I was in Nigeria, there was one of my neighbor that kind of accused me or wants to sue me for doing yahoo yahoo. And one thing she said is that I don't usually go out. I'm always at home because I started working from home from 2020. So my organization started fully remote from 2020. So from 2020, I didn't usually leave my house. I'm always indoor from morning till evening. And it's only in the evening I would just probably go out to grab one or two things and just come back. So this my neighbor was like, this guy doesn't go out. He's always indoor, right? What is he doing? It's only Yahoo Yahoo people that don't go out, that they're always indoor, right? Before I need to kind of educate her and tell her I'm into tech. This is where I work. I kind of work from home. That's why you notice that I'm always indoor from morning to evening. And people always call we tech people too. They say we are introvert, but technically we're actually not introverts because most of the time you are stuck with your laptop. And for me, I have one very bad habit. Anytime I'm on a project, I don't even look like comping time. Anytime I'm on a project, I always want to finish that project. I can wake up in the middle of the night and start working. Because anytime I'm on a particular project, the problem will always be in my head. Even when I'm sleeping, I'm still thinking about that project. So if I think of a solution I want to solve, I can wake up in the middle of the night and just start working, 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 working. And I like working a lot in the night, which does not make sense for my head. Now, one day I just decided to say, I'm going to put boundaries to this. Just like Inka said, I'm not going to do any midnight work. And I also have to juggle my official work with my personal work. As a tech person, you have to do official work and also do your side whatever if you want to make money, my brother, business. So I have to juggle the two together, do official work, do my personal work. We have to make money and all those things. So what I now did is I kind of plan my time well and I set boundaries. And one thing that also helped me is I do TikTok. Sometimes when I'm tired, I just go on TikTok. I was just probably playing, having fun, because if you do not do all these things, right, you just notice that you are stuck with your laptop. It's only you and your laptop. You're no longer fun and all that. And once in a while, I just probably me, myself, and my family, we just go out like that. And that's what I was actually used to when I left Nigeria. I was like, I'm always indoor anyway, so I'm not really too lonely here because I'm always indoor before. So that's it.
Yeah. Okay. So we are times our time is fast spent. So I'd just like to ask one final question. So, what other skills apart from technical skills do you believe are important for people or data, someone that's venturing into data to be able to use or possess to be successful in their job? What other skills apart from like the normal technical skills? I'll start from Mika.
Okay, since that's the last question, I think there was a question before I answer it. There was a question that Rachel dropped from LinkedIn. The person says he's a power platform consultant. How can he or she get a gig or a job in that niche? I think a lot of things that we have said today have addressed that, but one thing, especially if you're a consultant and you're trying to find gigs, one thing is being active in communities and continuously talking about what you do so that people can see you and give you jobs or give you gigs or recommend you for job. Another way, join freelancing websites like Upwork and Fiverr and offer your services to people there. So your question, what other skills do people need in tech apart from technical skills? Yes,
Yeah.
they need a lot of soft skills, and one key soft skill that they need is communication skills. Communication skills will help you in a lot of ways. You know, this thing they say, every project has a life cycle, and it starts almost every project starts with collecting requirements. After you collect the requirements, you do the project. While you're doing the project, there's a lot of back and forth where you need feedback. You need to be sure that what you're doing is what they asked. All of this require having good communication skills. And I think another skill that cuts across all fields in tech, especially, is problem solving skills. And I tell people that problem solving skills is not it's not as simple as it seems. And I'll explain what I mean. For example, in Lagos and I want to go to Abuja. I can go to Port Harcourt first and then go to Abuja. And I'll tell you that what matters is that I got to Abuja. You told me to come to Abuja and I'm in Abuja. But somebody else can go from Lagos and go straight to Abuja without going to Port Harcourt first. You both have gotten to Abuja. Now, if an employer told you come to Abuja and one person goes straight to Abuja and another person goes to Port Harcourt first and then goes to Abuja, the employer will be happy with the guy that came first, that came straight. Now, what I'm telling you is that problem solving skills is not just getting the job done, but is knowing how to deliver solutions in the most efficient, fastest, accurate, save money. That is problem solving skills. And in every organization you find yourself, that is the value you should be trying to add, solving problems in the most efficient way. And that comes with a lot of discipline, a lot of learning, a lot of practice, a lot of everything. But I think it's a key skill that cuts across every tech skill and every tech role that you may want to get into. So that's all from
Yeah.
me.
Okay,
That's
thank you,
everyone.
Inka. I think problem solving and communication is very important. So what I'm going to add more to that is one thing I always tell my team is this: critical thinking and emotional intelligence is a very important skills for anybody in tech space, especially when it comes to managing clients. When you've gone to the stage whereby you're managing your clients, you're delivering a project for a client, or probably, let's say, colleagues in your organizations or a department in your organizations, you need to be able to learn a bit of emotional intelligence and a bit of critical thinking. So critical thinking, people, we may all of us may want to solve a problem right now, but to think critically on how to solve this problem, most people don't have it, and you run into a lot of problem in analytics. Let's forget what we are doing on LinkedIn, probably on Twitter, or what people post on YouTube. When you get to confirm projects, original projects, it's only your critical thinking that can help you, because there will be a lot of roadblocks that you face, and then you need to be able to think critically before you kind of solve that problem. And I mentioned emotional intelligence too, because when you relate with people, you need to understand how to relate with people. I was having a discussion with a colleague of mine recently, and I was saying that there are ways you communicate to clients that something cannot be done. For example, a client asks for, I want to be able to jump inside water and also fly immediately I jump. Although you want to tell the client this is not possible, but you just don't tell them, why will you jump inside the water and not fly at the same time? It's not possible. So you can't just tell somebody that. You need to learn a little bit of emotional intelligence on how to communicate that this cannot be done, but in a very nice and then let me say in a very nice and polite way, right? Another skill that is also very important is project management. Even though we have a lot of people that are into project management, that they project manage a particular solutions or tasks, you yourself need to understand how to kind of manage your project, how to document your project. Because I've built a lot of solutions for me. In fact, I can't remember how many solutions I've built for different people in different industry. But one thing I learned over the years is I need to learn how to document. I need to learn how to do a bit of project management, because all the solutions they will just call me back to it again. Oh, Wale, there is this solutions you developed 4 years ago. In fact, there's an aviation company I developed a solution for, and it was like 4 years ago. So they reach out to me like early this year and saying this solution is not working. We need A, B, C, D. Now, because I do not document that project while I was working on it, I can't remember anything on that project. I opened that project, I was just a novice totally. I was trying to remind myself what DAX was written. I was trying to remind myself why this relationship exists. I was trying to remember a lot of things and I could not. And it was actually a shame on me. So I now started learning that, okay, so I think I need to kind of take my project management skills very serious and also learn how to document things, right? That's also very important in tech. You need to be able to document each aspect of the project you are doing so that anytime you are picking up this project back again, you'll be able to relate to it. So you don't necessarily need to be like a very, very professional in project management. I know there are people that focus on this particular profession, but you need a bit of this as a tech person as well to be able to run your day-to-day projects. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So we've come to the end of this session. We hope every single one has been able to be impacted, has learned something new. Me, I'm just going to jump in and select the last one. So, regards to how to balance your tech and work life. So, what me I do is after work, I literally go to the gym, and from the gym, I just come home and I sleep and I rest and
I
probably
noticed that
do some
earlier.
other thing.
You are building muscles now.
So try to like balance that and just I'm very very sure that you pick one or two things if you're a newbie that is trying to break into the power platform tech. Emotional intelligence is very very key when you're working with people. You need to be able to control your emotions. You need to be able to communicate well to people. In You need to be able to communicate your thoughts well so that people are able to understand you and able to understand the information that you're trying to pass. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this session. Please follow, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, make sure to drop some questions that we may not have covered in this session on the group in case we didn't cover it, someone will respond to you. I just want to thank Adewale and Olainka for joining us today. Everyone, have an amazing weekend and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.